scan the QR code on the screen, you can type in the 3 words that come to mind when you think of financial education. Okay, I think we will just make a start. So welcome again to this afternoon's session. Just for your information, the session this afternoon is being recorded. Your cameras are disabled. Your microphones, however, aren't. You would be able to switch them on, and that will be useful later in the session for our question and answer. So just a couple of accessibility, bits of information about accessibility. We're using PowerPoint Live this afternoon, so you'll see underneath the slides the numbers. You can use those arrows to navigate through the slides, so if you've missed something and you want to go back, you can do that without it affecting anybody else on the call's view. You can also use the button to view the slides in high contrast. So if you click on the 3 dots beside those arrows, you have the option to switch that on. If you go, could I just remind everybody to make sure that their microphone is switched off? If you go to the 3 dots beside the hands up, between the hands up and the video icon, and click on those, then you'll get a drop-down menu, and from there you can make use of the full screen, the zoom option, or you can turn on the live captions. We will make sure that we are speaking as clearly as possible this afternoon so that that's accurate if possible. In order to ask questions or make comments, then we would ask this afternoon that initially you use the chat function, and we will monitor any comments that come in and try to answer you as quickly as possible. There will be an opportunity towards the end of the session to have a question, to ask questions, and at that point we'll ask you to use the hands up and we'll invite you in. Just one final thing, if you don't mind, you should see at the top of your screen take control. Please don't click on that. If you take control, then it is likely that we will lose the slides for everybody, so please don't click on the take control. So my name is Nanette Brotherwood, and I'm joined this afternoon by my colleague from Education Scotland, Jacqueline Andrews, and representatives from Young Enterprise Scotland and the Money and Pension Service. We have Gillian and Alison from the Money and Pension Service, and they will introduce themselves later on when they do their part of the presentation. And we've got Zoe and Alison from Money and Pension Service. Apologies, Zoe. Gillian was first on my screen, so her name came out. And we've got Gillian from Young Enterprise Scotland. So I'm going to pass over to Jacqueline at the moment, who's going to share the aims and the format of the session with you.
Thanks, Nanette. If you can let people in from the lobby, that would be great. I do appreciate It's quite annoying that it keeps popping up, but it will die down within the next few minutes, hopefully. So the aims of today's session are on the screen, and essentially we're just aiming to unpick the meaning of financial education. We want to look at where it sits at within the Scottish curriculum, and also provide you with links to key providers and signpost lots of good resources that either you can use, or if you're a lead, share with colleagues that would hopefully be able to use it as well. So moving on to the format of the session, this is the format for the session. We will provide an opportunity for a wee short screen break in the middle because we know that it is quite a long day for a lot of you, and quite a lot of you will be sitting at a screen all day long. So hopefully this will be a wee welcome break away from listening to our voices and also looking at the screen. So when you first joined us, we asked you to complete a quick Menti task. We asked you to type in 3 words that come to mind when you think of financial education. So Nanette, I'm just going to steal control.
Okay.
And show you the results of the Menti. So here we have it. So the bigger the word, for those of you who are not familiar with this, the bigger the word, the more times it's been entered. So you can see here that budgeting and money have come up. That's been entered by quite a few people, and also real life context is has been mentioned a few times as well. What we'll do is we'll give you another minute just to complete that, because it's interesting to see if there's other things added to it, or if it reinforces what's there already. So in the chat there's a code. It begins with 438, and you can type that in if you go to menti.com, and we'll just give you a minute to do that. Banking also has been mentioned a few times, and lots of other really important words that hopefully you'll see come across today, and we'll show you how we can incorporate all of this into financial education as well. So I'll leave it open. You're absolutely welcome to go back to it if you wish, and I'll give you control back, Nanette, so that you can share the screen.
Okay. Apologies, it just takes a minute or so to get the slides back up
PowerPoint
again.
Live. So in a moment you're going to see a quote of what a definition of financial education is, and I'll give you a moment just to read through that. I don't like people reading to me when I'm reading off the screen, so I'll give you a moment just to read through that when it comes up as well. Looking at the menti.com, probably you would expect to see a lot of that in a definition of financial education, and the Money and Pension Service is released a guidance document back in November 2020, which gave a really good, succinct definition of what financial education is. So of course you are, what I'll do is I will read it aloud, even though I said I wasn't going to read it aloud. I'll read it aloud just now in the absence of the slides. So apologies if you like to see things. Financial education is any activity that helps children learn about and develop knowledge, skills and attitudes they need to manage money well, make informed financial decisions and achieve their goals. It can cover a wide range of topics responding to the needs of children, from recognising notes and coins, basic budget management and saving, to understanding the difference between needs and wants, the link between money and work, and keeping money safe. So it's quite a long definition, but we think it really summarises what financial education is, and what I'll do is I'll put the link for that into the chat for you as well, so that you can access that. That comes from the guidance document that I was just mentioning, but I would also suggest, well, I know that Money and Pensions Services are going to talk about that later on. I'm just trying to copy it across the link.
Okay. So over to me. Hopefully I won't get chucked out again. So as you're all aware, CFE focuses on preparing our young people with the knowledge, skills and attributes for later life and work. And financial capacity is an essential component of this. Areas of financial education are referenced explicitly in the numeracy and mathematics and in the social studies E's and O's. And within maths and numeracy, money provides an excellent context for developing skills in fractions, decimal fractions and percentages, in information handling and in aspects of chance and uncertainty when we're exploring risk. However, we know that it doesn't stop there. Financial education is implicit within a number of other curriculum areas, such as health and wellbeing, RME, literacy and technologies, with topics such as how to find help with money, the impact of money on mental health, risks associated with money, influences of others on money choices, and beliefs, attitudes and values permeating these curriculum areas. There's also considerable scope for taking an interdisciplinary approach and for involving families and communities. Financial education also has a critical role to play in the developing the young workforce approach and in preparing young people across the country for life and work. In the senior phase, the teaching of financial education occurs in a variety of ways within schools. So one way is through standalone qualifications embedded within certain subject areas. So for example, applications of mathematics courses at National 3 through to 5, and now with the new hire, have financial education content, some of which you can see on the screen there related to credit cards and loans as part of the new hire. There's also the Personal Finance Awards at SCQ level 4 and 5. And some learners will choose these pathways. But for others, their financial education will continue through PSE, Personal and Social Education. So this might be delivered by subject class teachers, by pupil support teachers, or by partners, or by some combination of all of these. It's important that we develop an overview of learners' experience in order to develop a coherent programme of financial education so that we can provide learners, all learners, with the essential knowledge, skills and attitudes towards money as they transition into greater independence. Jacqueline, back to you to talk a little bit more detail about the specifics of money within maths and numeracy.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Good. Okay. So with Nanette and I being part of the maths team, we obviously wanted to drill down a wee bit further into how financial education can be taught through numeracy and maths. And the image that you can see on the screen here is taken from the National Numeracy Progression Framework. And this just shows you the progression of money. And if you've not been into the National Progression Framework, it's very interactive. You can go into it, you can click in each of these boxes and it'll tell you a wee bit more. It expands it into more detail. So we think it's really useful because it just breaks down the progression of how learners develop their understanding about money. But you can see underneath it that developing financial capability sits across all of it, and part of that involves financial understanding, financial competence, financial responsibility, and also financial enterprise. All of these aspects are interconnected and they really help to develop attitudes and behaviours that will then support learners to become employees, employers, entrepreneurs, or working in the voluntary sector, depends where they work, where they end up. And what this is really helping them to do is to develop skills that will help them make decisions on spending and saving in order to balance lifestyle with also the cost of living as well. And what we've done at the bottom is you'll see that we've added in mathematical reasoning because we really believe that within the context of money, there's lots of natural opportunities to develop problem-solving skills, with real-life examples as well. So we just kind of wanted to highlight that today. On this slide, the first link on this page will take you to our professional learning community. You do, unfortunately, require a Glow account to be able to access it. If you haven't already accessed it before, then it's worth taking a bit of time to explore it. There's loads of guidance, loads of resources and professional learning within it as well. And we've also got a news feed on it, just on the right-hand side of that first picture, which we update regularly. At the moment, we're kind of updating actually every few days to a week. But on this site, we also have a specific tile that focuses on financial education. We've got links to resources that Education Scotland produced quite a few years ago, and some of you might have come across them before. One of them is called Money Talks, and the other, which is based around bank statements of each member of a particular family. And the other one is called On the Money, and that's a collection of short stories, which each focus on different financial situations. And both of these resources have guidance notes and suggested discussion points, and they are, although they are a wee bit older, and they might look dated when you go into them, they are still really useful. It just means that when teachers are using them, then we just check our mics are all off. I don't like to hear myself back. It just means that they might need to adapt parts of it just to ensure that all of it is relevant, but it would only be minor tweaks, and they are still really useful and relevant resources as well. Within that page of the financial education section, there are also links to lots of other financial education providers, and actually there's loads and loads of providers that offer lots of really good quality and free resources. But I know that Gillian's going to talk a wee bit about that later on, and also Zoe. They've got lots that they want to share with you, and I know that's probably the bit that you're dying to get to as well. So I'll move as fast as I can. We do know that some of you might not be able to access GLOW, so we do also have a National Improvement Hub page, which is the bottom link, and it's got pretty much all of these resources. There's just a few that it doesn't have. We just think that the professional learning community is a bit more attractive and user-friendly, so we would recommend that if you're able to access GLOW, you go in that way, and if you're not able to access GLOW, then you would use the bottom link there. The digital team at Education Scotland have also been working on lots of different resources, and one of them is a cyber resilience and internet safety support. And our colleague George has created this page, which you can see on the screen here, and it aims to basically support learners to become aware of the risks and the ways that they can look after their money online. And within that slide there's a link. It's been embedded to a webinar that George delivered on that specific area, and it's very up to date, very relevant, talks about money online and things like that as well. So it's worth a wee look, or it's worth sharing with colleagues if that's something that they're looking to deliver. So I'm now going to hand over to Zoe Renton and Alison Barnes from Money and Pension Services, and they'll explain a bit about who they are and some of the work that they've been doing to increase the quality of financial education across Scotland.
I'll just stop presenting now, Zoe, so that you can take over.
Okay. Hopefully it won't be a problem. Hopefully I'll click the right window, right?
Yeah.
How's that?
That's
Perfect.
I can see that fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you're just going to control that, Zoe, and I'll just
I'll do that.
ask you to move on. Good, great. Afternoon, everybody, and thanks to Jacqueline and Annette for inviting us along today and for the opportunity to speak to you. I'm Alison Barnes. I'm the Scotland manager at MAPS, as we're known, and my colleague Zoe, who will speak later, is the Children and Young People Policy Manager. So, can you move on, Zoe? Thank you. So I thought I would just cover a little bit about who we are so that you might not have heard of us before. We're a sort of fairly new organisation in a way because we're 3 organisations into one. So we used to be, some of us, Zoe and I, worked for the Money Advice Service, you might have known us there, and we've brought together Money Advice Service, PensionWise, and the Pensions Advisory Service into one body, which is the Money and Pension Service, so that we're covering everything from anything to do with money right up to pensions and retirement as well. We are sponsored by the DWP. We're set up and legislated through UK government, and we work closely with the Treasury. In Scotland, we work really closely with Scottish Government and Education Scotland, and we also run the Scottish Financial Education Forum, and some of you might be on the call that are members. That group brings together both providers of financial education, government, Education Scotland, universities that are doing teacher training. So we're really looking across the piece on the children and people's sphere for Scotland, and trying to sort of join up the dots of what we're delivering and look at who's delivering what, where, and how can we make these new connections. And then the other thing to say as well is that with the new Cabinet Secretary in post, we have a meeting with her on the 3rd of November where we're going to discuss the importance of financial education and how it sits within the curriculum for excellence. Next slide, please. We just recently launched Money Helper. Money Helper is our new consumer-facing brand, and it literally covers everything that you need to know about money, right up to the regulatory boundary. So things like benefits, family and care, homes, pension and retirement, work, savings. There's loads of stuff on there for children and young people, or if you're talking to children about money, how to do it, and sort of guides and stuff like that. So it's very comprehensive. I'm sure everybody on this call might benefit from some of the information that's on there. But really just what I want to cover next was something that we launched last year, just before I do, sorry, this is our actually 5 core functions. So we do pensions guidance. We are the biggest provider of debt advice in England. That's devolved to Scottish Government now. As I said, we do money guidance, consumer protection, but the strategy piece is really what we're going to cover here in the main. Next slide, please. Thank you. So at the beginning of last year, we launched a framework for financial wellbeing for the whole of the UK, and it looked at these, what we called 5 agendas for change. So I suppose the one that is most relevant to this meeting is around financial foundations. And that's just making sure that children and young people and their parents understand the importance of financial education and that they're getting a meaningful financial education. From the last Children and Young People survey that we did, I think there was around about half of young people couldn't recall having had financial education at school. So we know there's quite a lot of work there to do. So our goal is very ambitious over the next 10 years. I'm not going to cover all of the other areas, but we are looking at pretty much everything that affects people in their day-to-day life. But the Children and Young People work, which Zoe will come on and detail on a bit more, is what we'll focus on today. So that's this sort of framework, but actually the work that's gone on behind the scenes over the past year, we've engaged with so many stakeholders across Scotland on children and young people, and we are working towards producing a delivery plan specifically for Scotland, and that's due to be published probably January. That is working with Scottish Government on shared priorities, and we've worked, as I said, with lots of stakeholders. So we'll have all of these activities that we want to achieve, both short, medium and long term, for children and young people in Scotland. Next slide, please. Just very briefly before I pass over to Zoe, I wanted to just cover a few of the short-term activities that we've been working on before we launched the delivery plan. So we funded Young Scot, who I'm sure most of you know, to develop a digital platform last year for young people. Young people were saying, where do I go to get information about money? I need it to be in one place. They are a very trusted stakeholder and intermediary for young people. They reach so many young people across Scotland. So we've actually just funded them again to develop that a little bit further based on what we found out in lockdown that was impacting young people. Quite a lot of that was issues with debt, gaming, getting into gambling sites and stuff like that. So they are about to start some really good work on all of these things, and that will be available on their website. They're partnering with other stakeholders in Scotland as well to get to young people and using all of the typical social media channels that young people will use. The other piece of work that we are trying to develop is embedding essential financial skills into government-backed programmes for 16 to 24-year-olds, and that's really any sort of point of contact that any sort of training provider has with young people in that cohort, trying to include some form of financial education in that. And we actually know that there's not a lot of money education happening within these sort of training programs, so we really want to try and embed that where we can. So we're trying to plug away at doing that. And then we've recently just did a pilot program in Scotland for Talk, Learn, Do. So Talk, Learn, Do is a program that teaches parents how to teach their children about money. So it was initially developed in Wales with Big Lottery. We've evaluated, we know it works really, really well. It has a massive impact, not just on the children's capability around money, but actually the parents as well. So we've run a Pathfinder in Scotland, and we are currently working on creating a digital version of that going forward. So that's just a very brief run through of who we are and some of the stuff that we're doing, but I'll pass over to Zoe and she'll go into a bit more detail on the actual programme itself. Thanks, Zoe.
Thank you, Alison. And yeah, sorry, it takes about half a minute for me to unmute myself, so I hope you can hear me. It's a little bit jammy at this end, but I'll just keep ploughing on and Jacqueline can wave if it's not working. So here on the next slide, we've got just some headline statistics that kind of build a picture around sort of what it is we're working, the context we're working in relation to children's financial capability and well-being. we know from the research we've undertaken, the surveys with children and young people, that among those who do recall having had financial education at school, they are more likely to demonstrate some of those financial behaviours linked with better financial capability and well-being. So they're more likely to save up frequently, have a bank account and feel confident managing their money. And 90% of them, not around 9 in 10, say they find it useful, which I think is a really good indication. But we also know that not all children and young people recall having had that kind of provision at school. And I suppose just that second bullet there is just a flag. We do recognise the context in which we're talking to education sector about financial education, that parents and carers do play a really important role. We know that 80% of, for example, children and young people say they would go first to talk to their parent and carer. And we know there are really specific things that parents and carers can do at home that have a positive impact on their children's financial capability. And that's something we try and raise the profile of among schools as well, so that they can share that knowledge with their community. Can I do the next slide? Yes. So this slide just outlines sort of how our Children Young programme feeds up towards that national goal in the context of Scotland, 150,000 more children young people receiving a meaningful financial education by 2030. And we do recognise, as I sort of mentioned, that it's really important that we support and help coordinate and support the development of activity across kind of 3 key areas of children young people's lives. So thinking about education settings and the important role they can play, thinking about what goes on at home and the role of parents and carers, and also looking at how we can embed financial education into the support and services provided to children and young people who are in vulnerable circumstances through, for example, local authority support. So we try and ensure that our activity touches into those 3 areas, but I will focus today on the education setting circled in pink there. And so across those areas, just as a sort of highlight, and this actually probably covers a little bit of what Alison's already said, but our role is around coordinating that national strategy, working in partnership with a range of organisations, governments, statutory third sector, the banks and others, to help improve the provision of financial education across the UK, testing what works and kind of sharing that evidence with providers, with frontline practitioners working with children and young people, trying to address where there are gaps in tools and resources, helping people access those tools and resources that support good quality financial education. And we undertake and promote research to shape policy and practice. So I was just going to then highlight just a list of pretty specific things to do with our work around financial education in schools. And the first one is Talk Money Week, which takes place every year in November. And it really is a campaign that's led by, sort of coordinated by the Money and Pension Service, but where it's about trying to get everybody across the nation to talk about money. So it's not just about children, young people, it's about pensions, it's about getting money guidance at various stages of one's life. And that's partly through communicating directly with individuals out there, making decisions about money, but it's also about working with organisations that can reach those people, and that would include obviously the education sector. A focus this year is on children and young people, which is great in terms of MAPS' own activity through the kind of PR campaign that will come out during that week. But also we're really wanting to engage education settings as well. And we really want schools, we know that lots of schools have used Talk Money Week as an opportunity to deliver something at the school or start to talk to young people about what it is they might want to do, what kind of learning they might want to focus on in terms of financial education, but also to maybe sow some seeds for activity throughout the year. So we know schools already do that, but we really want to try and grow that this year and in future years. So this year we've developed for the first time a toolkit for schools to support activity during Talk Money Week and beyond. This is almost ready. It's coming really soon. We would really have wanted to get it out sooner, but these things take a while. But hopefully it puts us in a good position to get stuff out for future years as well. And what that does is signposts to resources that schools can use to either deliver something directly themselves or get in touch with organisations that deliver workshops or to plan what their provision might be in their school, or to consult young people on the themes they might want to focus on. And it also provides communications tools, because we would really also like schools across the country to use Talk Money Week as an opportunity to share, what the amazing work they're already doing on social media using the hashtag Talk Money. So it provides those tools, things like templates for tweets or content for newsletters, a poster to put up in the school. So that's going to be a downloadable PDF kind of toolkit that will go on our website soon, and we can share that with Jacqueline and Nanette to maybe share out among this group if that's helpful. It will also flag where there are tools and resources that might be particularly useful if you're working with children and people with special educational needs, or who are disabled, or care experienced children, young people. So hopefully highlighting some specific resources that would be useful for those who might have additional needs or particular areas that they might want to focus on in terms of their financial education. I'll flag a couple of other tools and resources, but I won't go into loads of detail because I know Gillian's going to cover some of these as well, because we, as Alison mentioned, we do work closely with organisations who are specialists in financial education. The first one is the guidance for schools, which Jacqueline mentioned. This was really designed for decision makers in education, so school leaders or heads of subject, to try and help them support them to kind of plan what they might do to enhance their provision of financial education. And we're really pleased that it was endorsed by the Scottish Government as well. I suppose in comparison to that Talk Money Week toolkit, it provides a bit more detail on the specific steps schools could take to enhance financial education that they provide. And that's based on evidence that we have around effective practice, both through the research that we've supported and others have developed, and also through examples across the country as well. And so that focus on things like the value of starting early with young people on financial education, talking about how where programs and interventions engage parents, it can be even more effective. Things like combining experiential and classroom learning, the value of just-in-time learning, and different approaches to taking a whole school approach. So it probably overlaps with a lot of the knowledge you have around delivering quality education anyway in the classroom, but it hopefully provides some useful tips around financial education specifically. The second one I wanted to flag was the quality mark. So MAPS funds the quality mark, a financial education quality mark, which was developed and delivered by Young Money. And that basically takes specific resources through a quality assurance processes, which means that teachers can really go and find the resources that have been assessed by experts for their educational value and for their financial accuracy. You can find financial education resources that have the quality mark both on Young Money's Resource Hub, and there are also links from Young Enterprise Scotland's Financial Schools platform as well. So hopefully that means when you're accessing those resources, you can have a bit of confidence about the quality of the information they contain, and that they're going to be helpful in terms of taking forward your provision. Just to flag then that we have been involved in 2 other projects, which I think Gillian will touch upon. Your Money Matters, where we're funding the adaptation, dissemination and evaluation of Your Money Matters textbook for secondary schools across Scotland, Northern Ireland and Wales. So that's really positive to ensure that really good quality resource is reaching more children and young people in the UK. And then supporting Young Enterprise Scotland as part of their development of the Scotland's Financial Schools platform as well, which I know Gillian will talk about. So finally, just to say thank you, and I suppose the big ask is when it comes out to you, and hopefully Jacqueline and Annette will be happy to do this, please do download that Talk Money Week toolkit. Let us know what you think of it, and use the hashtag Talk Money during Talk Money Week, which is the 8th to the 12th of November this year, to share what you're doing, either what you're doing during that week, what you plan to do, what you think about financial education. We really want it to be a week where more and more of the sector talk about the value of financial education for children and young people. Thanks very much. Jacqueline, I'll stop sharing now, and Annette, if that's good.
Thank you, Zoe.
We're just about to go into a break, but just before we do, does anybody have any questions for either Alison or for Zoe? Please feel free to use the hands up function if you'd like to come in, or just to type into the chat. Anything there at the moment, Jacqueline, that you can see? I'm just putting the slides back up.
No, nothing there. If anything comes to mind as we go through, just please post it in the chat and we can address it as we go along. The net has an activity to put up because you've been sitting listening. So you can either choose to do the activity or you can go on and have a wee break for 5 minutes from the screen. Yes, Mr. Niven, what I'll do is I'll just email all the people who registered a PDF of all the slides either later this evening or tomorrow.
Okay, so it is 16:39. I think we had planned in, was it 5 or 10 minutes, Jacqueline?
5 minutes.
5 minutes. So if we say come back at 16:45, that gives you 6 minutes, an extra wee minute there. There will be an activity on the screen, so if you want to stretch your legs and then do the activity, then please do. If you just like to take 5 minutes to stretch your legs, then we will see you back in at 16:45. Is the activity on the screen now,
That's it now.
Jacqueline? Excellent.
The money maze taken from
The money
Enrich.
maze. Anybody beat any of the totals that have been recorded there? So is there higher than 600 or lower than 40? I've got to admit that we didn't find one higher or lower than that, I don't think. Oh, this is 790. Okay, so we're going to just get started again. I hope that you found that little activity entertaining and maybe useful and something that you might use with your class. If you did like it, as Jacqueline said, there's a link on the slide which will take you there. It's from Enrich. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Gillian. Do you want to take control of the presenting, Gillian?
Yeah, if that's okay, if I can share my screen, that would be great.
Okay. I'll just stop presenting.
Okay. Okay, so hopefully you can all see that okay.
Yeah, we can.
Thank you very much to Jacqueline and Nanette for having me along today. It's really great to have the opportunity to share everything that we've been doing at Young Enterprise Scotland to support financial education in schools. It is an area that we feel very passionate about. So my name is Gillian Darragh and I am the Financial Education Programme Executive at Young Enterprise Scotland. So my role is predominantly to help and support practitioners to develop an understanding and most importantly a confidence in embedding financial education across the curriculum. So my background is actually in primary education. So before joining Young Enterprise Scotland, I was a teacher for 12 years. So like everyone here, I'm incredibly passionate about education and supporting our children and young people to a positive, sustainable future. So over the past 18 months, we've been involved in 3 different areas which help to support financial education in schools. So this is what I'm going to cover today. So firstly, the Centres of Financial Excellence pilot, where 3 schools have taken on the challenge to embed financial education within their establishment. Secondly, we've been involved in creating a brand new financial education resource, the Your Money Matters textbook that Zoe kind of touched on briefly before. So I'm going to give you a wee bit more information about that, what's included in it, and then where you can access a copy as well. And finally, we have our own teacher training programme, Scotland's Financial Schools. So I'll explain what we can offer through that and where to access our resources and our support. So a bit of background about our organisation. So Young Enterprise Scotland has been inspiring and equipping young people to learn, develop and reach their full potential through enterprise since 1992. So we work alongside schools, colleges and third sector organisations to support young people and provide them with engaging and relevant learning experiences. that prepare them for a positive destination. So our vision for Scotland is to be a place where all young people are given the opportunity to have a rewarding future in life and work, no matter where they started their journey. So at Young Enterprise Scotland, it's all about the skills for life, learning and work for us. So every programme that we deliver, whether it's directly to learners or training for practitioners, focuses on these core skills and provides opportunities for children and young people to develop them. So you'll see there that financial capability is one of our core skills, as we believe that it's essential for life, learning and work in a sustainable future. So the Centres of Excellence programme is actually a Young Money initiative, which was originally part of Young Enterprise UK, but it's now being developed in Scotland and it's being led by us with funding from HSBC. So this is a pilot study where 3 schools are taking a whole school approach to developing their financial education. So currently we have 2 schools, Crosshouse Primary and St Martha's Primary, who are in their 2nd year of the pilot. And Our Lady of the Rosary has just started this year. So each school identifies a financial champion who leads their school through the initiative with the support of Young Enterprise Scotland. So ultimately the aim would be for these schools to become examples of good practice, where practitioners can go to observe financial education in action and seek advice and support on how to do this within their own establishments. And the long-term aim would be for the pilot to be rolled out to more schools in Scotland. So it's currently only being delivered in primary schools. So it would be really great to include early years and secondary as well. So eventually there would be a network of practitioners across Scotland who would share ideas and offer support. So if you are looking to embed financial education as a whole school approach, but you're not really sure where to start, you could contact us. Obviously we can support you in that, but we could also put you in touch with the financial champions of these schools. I'm sure they'd be more than happy to offer a bit of guidance and support. They can sort of talk about what they did initially to kind of roll it out and any kind of challenges that they faced, etc. So they would be more than happy to do that. So as we mentioned before, the new resource, the Your Money Matters textbook. So this was developed by Money and Pension Service and Young Enterprise Scotland, along with a donation from Martin Lewis. And it's in order to create a concrete resource for schools. So it is a secondary resource and it's aimed at 14 to 16-year-olds. However, the content is very varied and it goes beyond just kind of money calculations. It looks at financial terminology, potential funding for further education, managing debts and problems that can arise with it. It's got case studies and group tasks, etc. So it could be very easily adapted to suit learners of all ages. So I've also looked at it quite a lot, used it a lot, and there's definitely activities in there that I could have altered for kind of primary 6 and 7. So every Scottish secondary school got 75 hard copies. So if you are in a secondary school, please hunt them down because they are there, and we've had quite a few people come on training before and they've said, oh no, they're not in our school. They are there, but if it's anything like the school that I worked in, then they'll have been delivered and maybe hidden away in a cupboard somewhere, or they'll be under the Janny's desk or something like that. So please do hunt them down. If you are primary or early years and you want to just have a wee look, there is an online version and it has supporting PowerPoints as well. So I've actually made the textbook on this slide a live link. So you should just be able to click on that. I think Jacqueline and Nanette are going to share the slides with you. So you should just be able to click on that and it'll take you through to the website. But if there's any issue with that, just drop me a wee email and I can send you the link to be able to access it. So over the past 12 months, we've been really excited to develop our own financial education programme, Scotland's Financial Schools. And this has been designed to support practitioners from early years through to senior phase. So the programme gives practitioners the knowledge, skills and resources to be able to embed financial education into their practice. So the programme actually started out with funding from Money and Pension Service in response to the national strategy that Zoe mentioned. So it's estimated that approximately 5.3 million children across the UK don't get a meaningful financial education, and lacking financial capability can lead to high levels of debt, financial stress. There are links to poverty and unemployment. A lack of financial skills can also influence the ability to compare career options effectively, as young people don't know what funding or financial support is available to them. So one of the goals of the national strategy is for 2 million more children and young people across the UK, and I think Zoe said that was 150,000 in Scotland, to receive quality financial education. And it's then expected that fewer young people will go on to suffer from poor financial well-being and financial hardship in the future. So the programme was originally meant to run until October, but we've been really excited that we've secured additional funding so we can keep the programme going. Excuse me. We can keep it going, and not only that, we're expanding it out to reach more practitioners across Scotland, which is another reason why it's so great to be able to speak to you today, to get the message out there of what support and training is available. So we've created the financial education training and resources through the context and the aims of developing the young workforce, the career education standards 3 to 18, building the curriculum for, and learning for sustainability. So these documents and policies, they all focus on the need for skills for life, learning and work, and financial capability is one of those essential skills. So during our training, we refer teachers to these policies and ensure that they know that it's the rights and entitlements of children and young people to have opportunities to develop these skills. So this is why we've decided to deliver our training from early years through to senior phase, as it's every practitioner's responsibility to ensure children and young people develop financial skills and attitudes and build upon them throughout their entire education. So our training and resources have a clear focus on learning for sustainability. So in Scotland, as you know, LFS is the mechanism for promoting the Sustainable Development Goals, and it should be at the heart of everything that we're doing within education. So how can financial education contribute to LFS? Well, delivering financial education helps to ensure individual growth for a sustainable future. Once children and young people know how to manage their money, they can make better choices about saving, budgeting, borrowing, spending, and understanding the consequences of poor financial choices. And only then are they going to be able to be likely to be financially secure longer term. And it's also that they can build the skills and resilience to deal with financial problems that might arise in their lives. So once they're in this position, they're able to make more sustainable financial choices at a local level. So for example, they could shop locally, buying more local produce, research alternatives to products or organisations that are not necessarily ethical or environmentally friendly. And then they can start to consider financial choices on a wider scale. So when they're older, what type of car do they drive? Can they reduce their carbon footprint? Can they look at alternative methods of transport? Do they have the financial security to address how they heat their homes? Can they buy fair trade products which ensure more equality and fairness on a global scale? So that's just a few examples of how financial education fits under the LFS banner. If you look at the middle there, you've got like health and well-being, social justice, eradicating poverty and inequity. It covers so many, it's got so many cross-cutting themes. And that's why we just don't want you to think of financial education as a sort of standalone subject or a bit of an add-on. It needs to be seen as an integral part of a child's education, which will help prepare them for a sustainable future. So I'm going to give you a brief summary of everything that we offer through the programme, and then I'm going to take you onto our website and show you where you can access the resources. So we are providing CLPL opportunities through webinars and interactive sessions. So these sessions are tailored to the specific sector. So we have early years, primary and secondary deliveries. The general context and message is the same. It's just how you might deliver it within your establishment will vary. And I'll give you a bit more detail on the session content shortly. We also have created online e-learning modules that you can complete at your own pace at a time that suits you. And I'll show you again where you can sign up for these in just a moment. We currently have a page on our website that will signpost you to financial education tools and resources. We've collated resources from across the UK, so there's a really wide variety and choice. There are a few organisations on there that provide workshops as well, so if you are just kind of starting out or kind of dipping your toe in the water, you can invite them to your school. A lot of them are doing virtual deliveries now as well, and you can draw inspiration from them. We are also in the process of creating our Good Practice portal, which will demonstrate the good work that's happening in schools, and our work from the Centres of Excellence as well will go up on that too. And then finally, we have created a progression pathway for financial education which runs from early years through to 4th level. And I'll talk to you about that in more detail shortly, but this will really address the concerns that teachers had of kind of not knowing what to teach at what stage. So it is hoped that it will provide that kind of guidance and support that they were looking for. So in terms of our CLPL deliveries, I'll just give you an overview of what's included in the session. So we firstly discuss what is financial education? Why is it an essential skill for life learning and work? You know, we can't guarantee that all young people will get the support from home, and there is evidence that children who live in households with low financial capability often go on to have low levels themselves. So by offering quality financial education to all at school, we're going in some way to breaking that cycle and creating more of an even playing field. So as I say, we consider it in the context of LFS, tackling the Sustainable Development Goals and contributing to the DYW agenda. So we then discuss what we mean by delivering it through a cross-curricular IDL approach. Now for us, as I said before, financial education isn't a standalone subject or a bit of an add-on. Traditionally, elements would have sat within maths or business studies, but we want to break away from that and show that teachers that to fully embed financial education, it needs to be delivered across the curriculum. And the fact that it is an essential skill, it is every teacher's responsibility to be delivering it regardless of their subject area. So although we completely agree it's essential that children, young people are taught the mathematical skills to be able to calculate money and solve money problems, and there's so much that they can get from that, we feel that only teaching through numeracy and maths or business context doesn't necessarily help develop the positive attitudes and behaviours towards money and personal finance. So that's why using a cross-curricular approach can be really beneficial. So for example, it can be taught through health and well-being by examining debt, the impact on mental health, also considering feelings towards money, how life choices impact your financial situation, and then who to go to for support if you do find yourself struggling financially. Through English or literacy, children, young people could learn about the language of financial education, understanding terms and conditions for payment plans, also addressing how mechanisms like advertising are used to influence our spending. And then as Jacqueline was saying as well, with the digital skills, that they can learn about online scams, online banking, online shopping, booking tickets, comparison websites, etc. So that's really good. I didn't know about that, the one that is being done by Education Scotland, so I'm going to be looking that one up tonight. So that's really brilliant. So there's loads of different areas, and we look at things like social studies and we look at RME as well. But we also look at using an IDL approach and delivering it through real life projects. So this approach is really ideal for financial education. It really helps to consolidate learning. We don't suggest everybody starting from scratch. It's more about adapting what already exists, and that really helps to make the workload a bit more manageable as well. And finally, which I always think is the most important part, and it's why we keep it to the end so people stay on the call with us, is how to get started. So we want teachers to leave feeling inspired and motivated, but also with a bank of tools and resources. So we give them a tour of our website where they can access everything for free. And I'm just about to do the same for you now in just a wee moment. So we do pack a lot into the session, and during an interactive one we would include a kind of 15-minute discussion and feedback as well, but it's very informal. It's just to get the teachers' thoughts on what we've discussed. So although it might seem quite a lot, it is very, very valuable and worthwhile. So the feedback that we've received from the session so far has been overwhelmingly positive, which is great for us. We want to ensure that what we're delivering is of value to the teachers and that they're going to take a lot away from the training. So I'm going to take you on a tour of our website now and just show you where you can access our resources. So again, this slide has all got live links. So everything I show you, you should just be able to access it by clicking on these links. But again, if there's a problem with that at all, and you forget something that I've shown you, just drop me a wee email, that's not a problem. So I'm just going to switch over my screen. 2 seconds. Okay, so hopefully you can see our Young Enterprise Scotland homepage there. So you can actually access, we do a lot of work with enterprising programmes as well, so you can access all the information about the programmes that we do from this website. So if you want to find out about the financial education resources, go to what we do and then financial education. And these are the 3 areas that I've spoken about today. So Scotland's Financial Schools is here. And this is what we've called our kind of one-stop shop. So everything that you need to be able to get started is on this page here. So I mentioned before about the useful links. So I'll just click on that first to show you. So we've got over 70 links. You can filter them down to primary and secondary. So it's loads of activities, resources, lesson plans, workshops, support, guidance, all on there. Sometimes it can be a bit overwhelming and you kind of think, where do I start with this? So there's a couple of quite good ones that I'll just show you quickly. So Money Advice Scotland is quite a good website. It's actually a debt charity, so they work with families and things as well. But they offer workshops. It was all obviously live before COVID. It went virtual. I think they might be doing a wee bit of a variety of the both at the moment. But they work from primary 3 to S6, and a lot of really good activities on budgeting, financial products, saving, etc. So that's worth going on to have a wee look. They also have resources that you can download as well for free. Another one, you've probably heard of this one before if you're quite into the sort of financial education, but Money Sense. It's run by the Royal Bank of Scotland, and again, lots of resources, interactive activities, videos, lesson plans, and it goes from age 5 to 18. And because it's a Scottish resource, it's tied into Curriculum for Excellence. Some of our resources are more tied in with the English curriculum, but it's just a case of kind of taking it and adapting it to suit your needs. And then we've got My Bank as well, which is another quite good resource. Again, they'll come out and they'll do workshops. They were doing stuff on virtual delivery as well over COVID, and they started it, I think it is a kind of English based, but they have now converted all of their resources to match with Curriculum for Excellence as well. So that's a really good one. So start with those 3, and then you can maybe sort of branch out and have a look. Don't try and look at all 70 in the one day, because that's just a bit too much. Our own resources that we've created is just here. So we've got some grab and go lessons. So again, if you're just wanting to test the water, not quite sure where to start, we've got lessons that you can download. So it's a mixture there. A lot of our stuff is through an enterprising approach, but you also have some stuff through kind of health and well-being as well. So looking at keeping money safe, making positive choices, how to look at saving, adapting your lifestyle to save up, etc. So each of these has a lesson plan, a PowerPoint that goes with it, any additional kind of worksheets or resources as well. But it's completely adaptable, so you can pick and choose bits and pieces. We do give you a suggested level, but again, it might be something that you go, well, actually, that would work better with my kind of first level class, or, and you can just change it around. So there's, it's not completely exhaustive. You can alter it as much as you want. Just go back quickly. So again, we've got a pocket guide to financial education. So this is quite good in that if you come across anyone saying, do we really need to be teaching financial education? Kind of what's the point? Well, this really kind of explains how it is, meeting the attainment challenge. It's developing employability skills. It's links in with how good is our school. So it's got all of these links. So that really shows this is why we have to be doing it. It's not an extra. It is an integral part of a child's education, and it's an entitlement that they should have. The next one I'm just going to quickly show you. I'm going to come back to the progression pathway. I'm just going to show you the whole school reflection tool. So if you're looking to maybe develop this, maybe it's part of your SIP, or you're looking to maybe, if you're in a wee working party and you want to drive it forward, you've got here, again, it follows similar to the quality indicators. So just down the sides here. And it looks at kind of if you're just starting out in financial education, and then a more kind of advanced kind of the gold standard really of what you're aiming towards. So just start out in your kind of small group and thinking, right, where are we on that scale? If you're sitting around 5 or 6 for some of them, take those ones and work on them rather than trying to start everything if they're at 1 and 2. And don't try and do it all at once. Just pick a couple of things and kind of build on that. But that's quite a good resource if you're a wee bit like, I don't really know where to start on this. This is quite a good place it's almost a bit of an audit to see where you're at. And I'm just going to show you our progression pathway. So we've actually taken, there was an English progression pathway that tied in more with the English curriculum. So we took that and we kind of Scotified it. So we've created early level to 4th level framework. Now, for some reason, we do have a PDF version and a Word version, but on our website, it just says that they're all Word. They're not. We have PDF and Word. I don't know why. The digital team don't know why it's done that, but I'm sure we'll get it sorted at some point. So if I just click on the first level one, just to show you. So it's the same type of structure the whole way through from early to fourth. So it has the same 4 themes: how to manage money, becoming a critical consumer, managing risks and emotions associated with money, and then understanding the important role money plays in our lives. And then we've also, it's almost kind of like I can statements throughout. And then we've shown how they would link to Curriculum for Excellence as well. And you can see there that, yes, there are a lot from maths and numeracy, but we've also got technology, we've got social studies, we've got health and wellbeing, we've got RME as well, and then there's the career education standards too. So it's showing how it can have that cross-curricular approach. So again, it's just in its first year. We've really just published it in the last few weeks. It just went live a couple of weeks ago. So it is possible that the more people use it, the more feedback we get. We might make changes to it, but we just keep everything updated on our website if we do make any changes at all. You may want to use this as part of your official planning, or your school might say, well, we don't want to use it for that, but it can be a planning tool or a planning resource. And as I say, it's all available for free. There's a user guide, there's a curricular overview, and then at the bottom it covers the E's and O's coverage as well. So that's almost kind of like a reference document that you can see which E and O it links to, and then you can check that in the experiences and outcomes coverage as well. And then just finally, I'm just going to take you back to our one-stop shop. And at the bottom here is our link to our e-learning modules. So I should have mine open, whether it might have already, yeah, it has, typical. We'll see if this will work. I might have to log in again, but basically you do need to sign up for these modules, but they are completely free. You just sign up for them so that we can keep track of who's doing them. It's going to make me log in again, so just be 2 seconds just to show you what it looks like. So once you've signed in and everything, you come to our page here. So it gives you a wee welcome, a bit of an introduction on how to navigate your way through the course. It shows how it links to the GTC standards for career-long professional development. And then it's made up of 5 modules. So it follows a similar structure to our trainer-led session, but obviously just allows you to do this at a time that suits you and allows for a bit more reflection as well. So what do we mean by financial education? Why is financial education essential? Embedding it across the curriculum, sharing ideas of good practice, and then ideas and resources to support your development. So it looks like quite a lot, but I would say each module maybe only takes maximum of 45 minutes, but you don't need to complete it all at the one time. There's no time limit on this at all. You could sign up for it now and you don't complete it till after Christmas. You could start it now and take 6 months to complete it. There's absolutely no time limit. Down at the bottom, we've got downloadable documents. So there's a wee reflection booklet and an action plan that goes alongside the modules. We've got an IDL project example there as well, and the progression pathway, the Scottish one that I've just shown you, and then we've got the English versions as well if you want to kind of have a wee look at both. There's no harm in seeing what's on theirs as well. And we've had really good feedback in terms of the content, people saying it's quite varied. You know, there's, as I say, there's reflection, there's videos, there's quizzes, there's activities that you can do with the children. So it's not too heavy, it's not too taxing. Like, it is something that you could do maybe 15, 20 minutes and then go away and then come back to it later on. So I think that's really everything we've got at the moment. As I say, it is a work in progress, so we will continue to update our website with new resources, and you know, when we come across other links as well, it's quite straightforward for us to put those links onto our website too. I've already seen a couple of things there that I think we'll be adding onto our useful links as well. So I'm just going to switch back over because my email address is just on the PowerPoint, and it's just in case anybody wants to reach out at all. I will say thank you very much for listening. I know I've kind of bombarded you with loads of information there, but hopefully I've given you a kind of good idea of everything that we're currently doing to drive forward financial education and support practitioners. It is an area that we feel very passionate about, and I hope that that has come across today with the work that we've been doing. We're hoping to have CLPL sessions coming up in November for Glasgow City Council, which should be available on CPD Manager. And then after Christmas for East Renfrewshire and the Tayside region. And we're hoping to get into Ayrshire as well. But we can also offer training just for staff as well. So if you would maybe like to have a cat night on this or part of your in-service day, just let us know. We're more than happy. We're quite flexible, more than happy to kind of work around you. So my email address is there if you want to ask me anything. If I've gone through things too quickly and you need me just to explain something again, that's no problem. So yeah, if anyone has any questions at all, then I'd be more than happy to answer. I'll stop sharing my screen now so that I can see people again.
Thanks, Gillian. We'll just give it a few seconds, see if any hands go up or any questions go into the chat. You're right, it is lots of information, but lots of great information. And you know, I know that Nanette and I felt that there's a real buzz around financial education at the moment. That it seems to be really coming off the ground, and we're getting lots and lots more inquiries about it. And I know that you are as well. So I think there's loads available for people to access, and hopefully this gives people that route in to getting started and supporting others to get started as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think there's any questions in the chat, and there's no hands going up. I think people are just tired, and that was so much information.
Information overload.
Yeah, but as you say, you've shared your email address, which is absolutely great, and people can contact you if they need to as well. We are just about finished. Last couple of things, and then we will let you get on your way and get on with planning your dinner or your evening. Education Scotland are also in the process of creating a money professional learning resource. If some of you may have seen our other professional learning resources that we have created in the past, we've got them for number processes, fractions, decimal fractions and percentages, and a few other things as well. For some reason the slide isn't loading properly, but it doesn't matter, it doesn't take away from the message. But there will be that will be published in January 2022. It's just going through all the quality assurance checks and things just now, but it's got lots of information in it, lots of examples of how you can use an interdisciplinary approach towards teaching money, and just make links across the curriculum and things like that as well. And to complement that, we will also have a webinar in May 2022 that will just highlight all of how we can an effective approach to learning and teaching within money as well. So lots happening. You're probably completely and utterly overwhelmed by all, but we'll email the slides out later on, and you can just go back and digest them at the pace that you need to, and feel free to share them with any colleagues that you think would benefit from seeing them as well. So the last thing, we'll stay on and take questions if anybody wants any questions as well. But the last thing, the usual thing, is the evaluation, and we really would appreciate if you would complete that. Nanette and I tried to make it as short and sharp as we could, because we know how much people hate completing these now, but it really does help us form future sessions and evaluate what's worked and what's not. So please do complete the evaluation form by either scanning the QR code or clicking the link in the chat, and all of us will stay on the call. We've actually finished early, which is always a bonus as well, but if anybody wants to stay on and have a chat or ask any questions, then feel free to. We will be here. And thank you so much to Zoe and Alison and Gillian. Really great partnership. We love working with you, loads to offer, and we do appreciate the time that you've given up for us today. So thanks very much for coming along.
Yeah, I would just like to reiterate that. Thanks so much for your input. We certainly learned some things this afternoon as well, Gillian. It was great to see the developments that have happened since the last time we spoke. And just to remind everybody on the call that when the slides are sent out, as Gillian said, there's lots of live links on there, so they will be sent out in PDF form, but that should still enable you just to click through to any of the links that we've mentioned.